Hey there, and welcome back to Quest Along, where I'm trying to save you time on JRPG adventures. And of course, again today we are talking about Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I put in the time so you don't have to. Or you can play along with me whenever you find the time in your life. Either way, thank you for joining me. And right away, I lied to you. I said I would see you at the end of the credits of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 on the last episode. And as the title suggests, this is an episode about Chapter 5. It's a doozy. I'll update you on the nitpicks and praises like always to see where I stand, and you, for the most part, spoiler-free. Obviously, if you haven't listened to the previous episodes, there might be tiny spoilers, but just throwing that out there. But with no delay, I am Michael, your host, and this is nearly 55 hours with Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Let's talk numbers right away, because you might be thinking, I went through 4 chapters in 35 hours, and it took myself another almost 20 hours with just this one chapter. Yeah, I'm surprised myself, but then I really shouldn't be. Remember I kept saying that this game does a wonderful job of distracting you? Yeah, it got me big time. I was so intrigued to see where the story was going to take me, especially after that pretty big cliffhanger on chapter 4 side, getting us introduced to the new villains and such. But this game and the class system, quests, upgrades, and just exploring the world really got me in this chapter. And I'm finally happy to say there are some wonderful areas to explore this time around. Now, do they reach the glorious heights of Xenoblade 2 like I always keep referencing? Almost. There is some really creative looking areas this time around, and man, is this game massive. One of the things that I absolutely love is I returned to one of the beginning areas, and I was like, wow, this place is actually really beautiful. We have this deep red grass, stone floating pass, and I'm like, why the heck did I not think this was beautiful to begin with? But when we were in the beginning of the game, for some reason when I was running around this area, a lot of the times it was nighttime, and I don't think I really stopped and panned the camera around enough or something, because, man, it's stunning in the daylight. I was wandering around this new area and found a random question mark on the map, and lo and behold, I got a hero quest, which means eventually I'm going to get a new class, which I'm super excited to do, and an excellent hero quest to boot, with one of my favorite new classes to use, the Thermitage, I think is how you pronounce that. And the coolest part about this is it's Mio's original colony that you find. And I totally missed it, and I'm like 25 levels higher than I probably should be at this point, but this serves up as great backstory and character building that I could have totally missed, which I would say generally is a bad thing from a gameplay perspective and just design choice. But I love that I feel good about the game and how they're handling the story even without these extra backstory moments. So this just adds excellent supplementation. And this is all just lying there in the beginning of the game if you want to explore it. I believe at one point I couldn't warp back there because I saw those ether channels that I wanted to go collect at the beginning of the game. So at some point they must have been unlocked. So you're kind of blocked off from this area, but definitely you could have gone back way sooner than I did. So I just decided to go there because I was doing some side missions semi-close, and there we go. It just opened up a whole new area, a whole new colony, a whole new class, and even an exploration upgrade. I can now run up Sandy Hills, and this is from one freaking side quest. Amazing. I love it. And if you listen to the last episode, I ended at a cool looking forest place, and I will confirm that it is a cool looking forest place. And at some point I complained about the lack of a big city. I think I complained about that in both the part 1 and part 2. And immediately after playing through this portion of the game, what do you know? We find the big city. I just seem to be off just by a little bit. In the first episode, it was about Taeyeon's character development. Bam, got that right away. Then part 2, I'm complaining about the lack of a proper big city. I was hopeful that it would come, I do recall. And bap, after we make a long, long journey up this giant sword, we come to the city. So happy to report that I got my big JRPG city that I wanted. So those nitpicks, they are eroding with each new episode. Also, shout out to the night theme of being in the city at night. Superb, and this OST just keeps putting out some good tracks. Keeping with the themes of the area, I really like going up to the city in this snowy area Then we get a giant open area that's a lot of fun to explore, and it looks phenomenal. So look forward to that if you're playing along, or if you're listening to this and, well, you just want to hear my thoughts, because we'll be talking about it later. Because something happens in there I would never have expected in this game, and of course that will be in the spoiler section. I know it probably seems a little weird to be putting an area you explore in the spoiler section, but I think you'll understand. In this chapter, we get a lot more time with the antagonist that I was excited to learn about from my previous episode, and let me tell you, without spoiling anything for you, man, am I happy where they are taking this. And there's only the slightest nitpick, which I'll talk about in spoiler territory as well, and hopefully that too will erode like my other ones have been from my previous episodes. There is a much clearer motivation now for some of these antagonists. Not all of them are my favorites. Still have some complaints about the more theater kid moments, but they seem to be narrowing the scope a bit more, and I think that's addressing some of my concerns. Also, doing more hero quests and having other council members pop up that aren't in the main storyline is so cool. One even got away, so does that mean they're going to pop up in the main quest or in another hero quest or maybe a side mission? Who knows? But I'm loving major boss battles inside optional content. It's a very cool idea. And I'm sure it's been done before, but it seems much more cohesive in this game, so I'm really liking the approach to that. And I cannot understate how distracted I was with the side content in this game and exploring, seeing all the new areas. It was a doozy. Obviously, 20 hours on this one chapter. There is one section toward the end of this chapter that I didn't feel like added much at all to the narrative. Well, kind of scratch that. It becomes the driving force behind an encounter with our baddies of the story, but the mission sequence was kind of a buzzkill. It didn't have the weight I wanted, but that was easily wiped away because of what I got that happened right afterwards. And there is a cool, nice scene in between there too. So of course I still have my tiny little bit nitpicks, but man, am I loving where this is going. For the most part, the character moments are stellar. I can't get over how wonderful Noah's voice actor is, just phenomenal, an excellent protagonist with an excellent crew behind him too. We are still getting awesome character moments between a pairing of characters that you might not see that interact as much, and it just keeps going back and forth, and I'm loving my time with this crew. You know, there's so much going on with it that sometimes you feel like some of your skills don't matter as much, even leveling up your interlinking skills, and that's because it kind of just runs itself. One thing I did figure out though, if you click in the right stick, you do this like dash little hop thing, and that is so helpful when you're trying to get behind a bigger enemy or getting to the side to do different, because if you're on the side attacks with some classes, you end up inflicting break, and then you can inflict on the ground, and you kind of start that combo going. And knowing that I could just be doing it quicker with dashing around the enemies, I wish I knew that 40 hours ago. And I mentioned in the last episode, auto battle. I have another helpful tip with that. I can write down my little notes about the game as I'm going along. I just hit the auto battle, let them do their thing. I feel I'm still intrigued to unlock the new classes and chase down these hero quests. Obviously, because I spent a lot of time doing that this time around. And I feel the classes that give out buffs and debuffs to other enemies have become more of my favorites. Not that I want to control them, but I just need it in my party, because when I've switched out to a new class, and they're starting at level 1, I do realize that my characters get downed a lot more, and I have to hit revive a lot more too. So leveling up the classes does seem important to, crush through some battles. The cadence of this game is really starting to sink in, and I'm loving how if I'm feeling like plowing through the story, I can. Or if I want to be distracted, I can be too. And it helps my characters grow in so many ways. I can now find, if I'm exploring, I can find the ingredients to upgrade my gems, which is going to make my character stronger, and then I get new classes, and I'm gaining experience so much that I am plowing through most of the sections in this game. And there's a real incentive to do these side missions because, well, I'm going to be able to run faster so I can explore quicker and gain more experience. It's not a perfect game, but I'm loving this entry. And man, I hope they stick the landing on this one because I want it to be excellent all the way through. Sometimes the games get really crazy towards the end, especially in JRPGs. I also thought Xenoblade 1 got really bonkers at the end in a good way. And Xenoblade 2 blew my mind in some aspects. So I'm not too worried about them sticking the ending. Please do. If you're liking these episodes of Quest Along, I would really appreciate it if you hit that like button on the YouTube if you're watching the video format. You get to see a lot of cool scenes and stuff. You get graced with all these cool little scenes and scenery. And if you're listening via podcast, well, share this out to somebody. Probably the first part. That'd probably be a better option than giving them part 3 randomly. And also probably share it with somebody who likes Xenoblade or someone who's wondering if they should jump in. I'm still saying this is a good first entry. Now, before we make our way into spoiler territory, my older brother was feeling a little bit left out. So I told him, you know what? You can ask me a question and I will answer it in this episode before we get to spoilers. I mean, I do get to set the parameters for his Gamer Pass episode, so he should probably be included in this episode. Go check that out if you want, because, yeah, there's normally 2 of us here at Bits of Time. And this is my little side project, Quest Along, my little JRPG journey, baby. And he asked me 3 questions. Maybe he was feeling left out or something, because this is the 3rd part, 3 questions, whatever. Here we go. You have made it to Chapter 5. Do you have a favorite character? Now, I just got done saying that I love this crew so much. I do think Noah is still my favorite character in this game, but man, is it close. I love Uni, I love Mio, I just love the whole crew. Lance is becoming very high up on my list for some of these small little character moments he gets in this game. But I think it seems a silly answer, but maybe not silly, a predictable answer. I gotta pick Noah. If you had to replace one character from your party, who would it be, and who would you swap them out with? It can be a character from any other JRPG. I don't know if that's supposed to be tied in with that first question. I mean, it kind of seems similar. To be honest, I wouldn't switch out a single character. I love them all, so easy does it. Also, thoughts on the main villain in the game so far. What do you like? What do you dislike? Now, I feel like that will go far too much into spoiler territory, so I will address my likes and dislikes with the villain in the spoiler section. Okay, maybe he actually sent me 4 things. Finally, rank the soundtrack, gameplay, story, and graphics in a list form. Oh, so like best to worst. Now, if you've listened to both previous episodes, you probably have a good idea where I stand on this. My least favorite of those 4 criteria is graphics. Now, this isn't a bad looking game by any means. It's definitely pushing the Switch to its limits for sure. And it has some muddiness and blurriness every once in a while. And you have pop-ins and, it's not the best looking game, but there are still some great environments. I like the style of the game a lot, the art style they chose for this iteration. I would still say that probably Xenoblade 2 is a better looking game. I like the character design in this one better, but overall, that would be my least favorite part of the game. And I'm kind of torn between soundtrack and gameplay on where to put those. Yes, story is number 1. That's why I'm playing this game, and that's why my spoiler sections, for the most part, are all about the story. I think I would put almost a tie, but I'll put soundtrack a little bit below gameplay. And my reasoning for gameplay being higher is I'm incentivized to explore these new areas because the XP bonus, it's such a simple thing, but going and looking at new areas and getting a boost to my level, it's a perfect recipe for me. And then knowing that I can unlock new classes as I'm exploring, and when I visit these new areas, I get to experience the OST as it goes. So they're kind of interlinked, but I will put soundtrack at number 3, gameplay at number 2, because I'm enjoying the battle system as well. So there you have it, brother. You are now included into Quest Along. Well, thanks for sticking around with me. Now it's time for spoilers. So get out of here if you don't want to know the nitty gritty, but stay if you want to get into it. Man, where do I even begin? Chapter 5. It's funny, someone, Logan Hollis to be specific, commented on the YouTube version of the last episode, part 2, and said, so about Chapter 5, ... And I was like, well, that's got me excited to know what that is all about. And let me tell you, there's enough in this chapter that it warrants its own episode. So let's get into it. I'm going to go chronologically in order this time. I really want to talk about the ending of the chapter, but I'm going to be a patient man and start at the beginning. Because hopefully, like me, you want to hear my reactions to multiple things and not just the big events. So where I left off, we immediately get swarmed in that forest by the people that helped break us out in the castle stage earlier. And it's another Van Damme. Van Damme's daughter, to be exact. And immediately I thought to myself, well, she's going to die with that name, but she hasn't bit the dust yet, so maybe it's not the worst thing in the world to be called a Van Damme in this universe now. A nice little hint is our crew has no reference to what a daughter is. And I was like, holy crap, yeah, they wouldn't. And I love it. It's very well done. And it's a nice reference to how they grew up and what they know as the world around them. Then we go up to the big city, and I referenced it in the first part of this episode. I really like this area, the snow, the different parts inside. The scale of these areas have always felt big, but I love how high we had to get inside. And we finally get my big city that I've been wanting for 2 episodes. And I was giddy to explore and find the secret areas, do the missions, after we get the exposition dumps, of course. But I really like this city. There's a lot of cool vantage points. There's interesting little fetch quests to do. And being able to go into the memorial and see, it gives you a feeling of hope, but also despair in this nice little big city of ours. And of course, we get some tension with the true Ouroboros candidates. They were trying to become what we are, but we messed up Van Damme's plan in the beginning of the game by doing that surprise attack. So I get it. It makes sense that they would not be too thrilled to work with us. They've been training for this moment to become the 6 of Ouroboros. For some reason, there can only be 6, and maybe they'll explain that someday. But I get it. I wouldn't be too happy. And we finally get the reveal here that Mobius feeds off us, which we kind of got that hint in the Mobius battle where he started eating away Ethel and all of them. But we are truly their fuel, and it's why we're reborn over and over, and it's why we fight. Gotta feed them immortals, you know? So that makes sense as to why a lot of the time the antagonists are just kind of toying with us. They're not really trying to stop us. They just want more battles to happen, and we sure do make battles happen in this game. We are definitely sustaining them even with all the crap we go through. And I love that. I don't think we learn it here. Maybe we do. Or it's from a hero quest. But they made the rank so they can keep slaughtering each other so Mobius keeps living. Gold rank equals them to come and just harvest everybody. Whew. So there is lore for everything in this game and it fits together with this world. And hopefully we'll get the true behind the curtain moment soon to see, well, why is the world the way it is? Within this city part, we also get the amazing scene of our crew seeing a baby for the first time. And man, Taeyeon's excitement over the baby is so freaking good. The emotional jolt that he gets compared to his usual self, it was so unexpected and really a good character moment for him. And I was talking about the memorial earlier, and we get to see the statues of the original founders of the city. Now, some of these kind of look like characters from the previous games, but I can't exactly tell. And the only last name I recognized was Van Damme, of course. And I tried to research the house names, but I didn't want to go into spoilers, so I just looked up the list of characters from Xenoblade 1 and 2, and I couldn't really find a crossover, so I don't know. Maybe they're not the main characters from the first games, or maybe they're side characters. I have no idea. I didn't want to look too hard because I really didn't want to run to a spoiler because I haven't so far, and that's good. I did get some cool information from the memorials himself. Bad Noah, or Mobius N, he destroyed the city initially, and it was the Van Damme family, or Van Damme himself, who used the power of Ouroboros to drive him out, which is pretty cool that I got all that just by reading memorials and stuff. So a little character development or let's call it backstory development of the city itself. And before we go out on our missions, we get a nice Lance and Mio chit-chat about her ticking time. In the previous episode, I really loved how they handled that part of her starting to show emotion over it. And you know, Lance said he didn't want to be in the drama, so for him to come to her and talk it out, just a really cool scene. Also, just nice to see this pairing of characters. And like I said in the beginning, I just like how each character is getting their moment to shine and pairing them up. Love it. And the thing I did not want to spoil, after we do all these missions in the city, we're getting prepared, fixing this boat, and we actually get to drive the freaking boat. It's like old school map style JRPG. Heck yes. Dude, I love this. I didn't know I was missing this until it happened, and I was like, hey, they can do this art style, this graphic design, and make it work. I never expected to get a boat or any kind of drivable vehicle. Even if it controls a bit wonky, I don't care. Just being a little bit more precise, trying to get through some of those caves, doesn't matter. Seeing the open area, the floating castle, the islands, and I just get to drive around them. I love this area so much, the open-ended sea place. And the best part is, well, maybe not the best part, but I am over-leveled. I feel like I have been. And the first creature I see is about 5 to 7 levels over me, and I'm like, yes, I love it. It just makes me giddy. We also get one of my favorite hero quests here, a freaking council that is just bored with the world, deciding to hold a contest. And he gets to join us, and he's this pirate guy, and he's awesome. And how this game keeps adding stuff for me to do is, with this class, I can go fight elite mobs and learn arts passively and ones that use to attack from all these monsters. It just keeps giving me distractions. And you betcha that I went to some previous areas and hunted the low-level elites that I've already beaten and bumped up my class a little bit. Obviously, I spent a lot of time doing these quests. I found areas that I could not even traverse. There was this poison one that I just took too much damage trying to wander through, and it looked so pretty, and I was like, come on. But we are now gathering all this info to infiltrate this castle. And we do get a payoff around this time about Senna in that opening intro for Chapter 5's intro, where Senna is kind of lacking confidence and trying to fake it. And Lance coming in with clutch scenes, he tells her that he's putting up a front too. And he doesn't, even if he doesn't look like it. And they have this pretty touching moment where they call themselves the Mighty Weaklings as a badge of honor to overcome their faults. And friendship, man, makes the world go around. Please keep giving me scenes like this. I love it. And I enjoyed the variety of missions here with the boating and going around collecting all the information to get inside this big floating castle. And I feel like the momentum, once you actually get in there, is a bit underwhelming. We get to meet now Van Damme's daughter in there, which threw me for a loop, and she has a interesting way of talking and just dealing with the world around her. But this whole section of waiting to break out and doing these chores, I just wasn't really feeling it. It felt a little odd. We just come in there and they don't recognize us, and it's just supposed to be kind of lax inside. It just kind of threw me off, and I was getting a little bored of this area. And thankfully, when you're breaking out, we get what I wanted. And that is another confrontation with Bad Noah and Bad Mio. Now, I was not expecting that Mio was going to fight us, or Mobius M. It's just her first letter of her name. I thought they were just going through an A through Z kind of thing, but who knows? Maybe they only recruited Mobius people if they had a differing letter than everybody else. I don't know. But we get to fight Mio, and man, is her power badass. She jumps consciousnesses. She can take over your conscience and body swap, basically, and it just overtakes you, and there's nothing you can do about it. It has this awesome purple dome thing that just goes out, and I loved it. And I was fighting her at level 61, and she was only at level 49, and she killed some of my party members almost immediately, and I was like, okay, that's kind of wild. But again, I had just switched to a different class because I did not think I was going to be fighting this person. And I love when you fight her, you beat her, not really. You go to a cutscene of her just taking over your party members back to back, and it's this awesome montage of your team fighting each other. And whoever choreographed that scene, very well done. And it's good old Tyon that figures out her weakness of using his Mondo to track her movements when she jumps into each person's body. So good job, Tyon, still being the strategist of the group. So after we figure out Mio's weakness, we have another boss battle with Bad Noah, Mobius N, or the Gold Council. He's got a lot of names. Now, how he comes to save Mio with this slash across the ground that kicks up all this dirt, and when he unsheaths his sword just a little bit, it blows the dirt. I was like, okay, yeah, he's cool. And I love that his tone is so much lower than Noah's, but you can tell it's the same voice actor, and the range of this person is excellent. So we fight him, and then he just obliterates our team. And that scene is cool. He's just fighting with a sword nonchalantly. It feels like he's not even putting on any effort, and he's just destroying us. And I truly thought they were going to kill off Lance and Senna here. I'm happy that that random council comes in and intervenes and stops their interlink explosion, because that was a big relief. I did not want to see my mighty weaklings dying. But it was touching that they would do that for us. So good job, team members. And man, there's just so many cool shots in this, and Bad Noah is really conniving and evil. Instead of taking us out, he decides he wants to put on a little sideshow. And man, this is where the feels start coming. They have these great back-to-back scenes throughout this section. We're locked in jail for an entire month. Mio is separated from us. Somehow one of the councils, Council X, I believe, they're the one that interfered with the fight, so they stopped our interlinking, but they also stopped us from being able to use our blades to summon them at all. So we are left powerless in this cell, and Bad Noah is just goading us to get out of the cell to save Mio before her homecoming. And Noah is beating his knuckles raw, trying to get out, but he just can't do it. The emotional range is just, it's intriguing, and I'm all here for it. And then we get this montage of the moon going through its phases and our crew trying their best to break out. And we get this nice vocals on the OST, really setting the mood of lowering our expectations that Mio is going to survive this. And we get to the last night, and Noah is feeling pretty down. He's having doubts about why he became an officer to begin with. Was everything they do just hopeless? And man, his busted up knuckles and the look they made for him, his face is more tired. He has lines underneath his eyes. It's so powerful. So much that I actually want to put this voice clip in the episode. So here you go.
I wasn't facing the truth. Even if I could reach people, I wouldn't be able to save them. I should have known that. It's unbearable, seeing life slip away from you.
Gosh, his emotional range is so good. You can really hear the despair coming off of him in that last line. It's unbearable. It's just so good. I mean, it's sad for Noah, but you know what I mean. I'm here for the sad boy stuff. And then we get Mio talking to Noah behind the wall. They can't see each other, but they're sharing the cells right next to each other. And Mio confesses her love to Noah. She doesn't say it outright, but she wants more time to live with him. It's so touching. And she basically says, don't say it's not worth it, because to her it has been, because of these feelings and all that. And seeing Uni cry and Taeyeon punch the ground in frustration because they can't do anything to stop it. I was definitely tearing up a little bit, getting at least in the eyes, And a thing that I've said about this game is we are getting so many different ways of how different characters are reacting to the situation that they're in. And the acting for the farewell to Mio is so freaking good. And it just all feels hopeless, and guess what? It is. We go to the execution point. Fake Queen Nia is there. I just know she's fake. I have this feeling. And we are all shackled and bound. And they bring out Mio and set her down before the queen. The eclipse is in the background, because we know if she dies during a homecoming, she's not being reborn. So there's the cinematography, is that the right word? Yeah, probably. The design choice, whatever, of having the eclipse in the background. You have these poles on either side. You can see the Sword City in the background. It just has this deathly feeling, but also kind of beautiful in its own way, too. And frickin' Bad Noah comes in and he throws down your flute and taunts you, saying, you should send her off. It's your job. Aren't you going to do it? And Noah can't do it. And it's horrible in the best of ways, because Bad Noah is just so cruel to our good boy Noah. And Mia turns gold, like she's disappearing, and she smiles back at Noah and dies. And Noah lets out this cry of anguish. And I was like, man, they did it. And then Bad Noah decides to behead you. He brings down his sword on Noah's neck, and it cuts to black. So we'll be reborn, but not Mio. Talk about a roller coaster of emotions. But you want even a more roller coaster? I didn't stop here. Nah, I kind of lied. Now, I will say you can save right here, and I did. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is probably the end of chapter 5. But I couldn't stop myself. I had to keep going. I think this next part is considered the beginning scene of chapter 6. So, spoiler within spoiler section. Before we get there, I want to thank you for giving Bits of Time a shot, specifically this quest along series that I'm doing for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. If you like what you're hearing, let me know. Matter of Michael on most social media. So you've been warned. This is spoilers for the next section. So we're back to the heartbreak and back to craziness. So me feeling very dead inside because best girl Mio, I mean they're all best girls in this game, was executed. And Noah is now in this cloud place. I don't know. This cloud world. And there's this little boy with a hood and he's telling you, would you change anything? And we walk to this light source in this cloud area. And we get a flashback and it's Noah and Mio together. And we get to watch her die. Multiple times, actually. And mainly we're being killed by this guy named Zed, or Z. And we've seen him before. He's the weird guy with the scars on his face and like the purple flames. Now he's pretty wacky looking. I mean, I think he's a bad guy. We'll find out. We do find out that he is the ruler of this world. And what that means is, I don't know. But my previous self, in another lifetime, Noah ran away from becoming the Ouroboros. You can hear in the background that it sounds like Lance and Uni, perhaps. And we take Mio and we run away because we don't want to be Ouroboros and we're sick of seeing Mio die. And the little boy is telling us that this is a selfish act. So we keep going in and out of these memories and back to this cloud area. And in this timeline, or this instance of us being reborn, we had a baby with Mio. And this is the first time that I noticed that he had the black and purple sword, like the bad Noah from the current timeline or the current reborn state. So we are seeing memories of bad Noah, the guy who just killed our Mio. And we see them have the son, and we watch Mio die again, more from old age. Well, not old age from the 10-year cycle there, and because she still looks young. And then we cut to a scene where we are with the kid. He looks like he's about 5 maybe, out in the forest, and we're about to die. And we're saying that, live your life, and he's happy, and yada yada. So he gets reborn. They don't say the son's name either, so I wonder if it's someone important, if it's someone from Xenoblade 1 or 2, or if it's a different Noah out there that we're going to meet. But we come before Zed, simply spelled Z, and he gives this Noah a choice. There's 2 paths he can go through. He can keep being reborn, or he can choose to stop time and live in the moment forever. Now, the interesting part is Zed is perplexed by our ability to go beyond the homecoming and live multiple lives over and over again. So that's an interesting point that he mentions that. I bet there'll be more to that later on the road. And we're doing all this talking in this movie theater room we've seen before briefly. It's kind of like Zed's throne room maybe or something like that. But Noah chooses to stay with Mio and become Mobius to keep her alive and to step out of time so he can live with her forever. No idea what this weird looking Zed dude is up to or how he became the world leader. I'm sure there'll be craziness just like Xenoblade 1 and 2. I have no doubt. But my nitpick is he's a weird looking character and I'm not super into his design at all. But that's a small one. Hopefully it'll change. Now, the weird part is you go back to this is the last member. You see that he chooses to protect Mio and stay with her, but he dons the council armor, now the golden council armor that we've seen him with before. And somehow I have split from my other self. So I'm technically still bad Noah, but I'm my own individual person as well, I guess, that keeps being reborn. And the kid kind of says, why'd you do it? And there's not really an answer to that, so that's pretty interesting. But Noah starts to have this talk about why he became an Offseer, and it was because he wanted to know why his old friend was smiling. We get a flashback of him with this blonde dude who was the previous Offseer, and he wanted to know why he was smiling before he died. And then Noah basically has this question. It's like, why is everybody smiling before they die? And he references his old friend Yorin and all that. And his realization is they were all content with how things ended. Basically passing the torch on to other people and putting them in charge of the future. And Noah is okay with that burden And Noah wants to rip apart the world and change it to keep the legacy of Mio alive. And this boy in the cloud world asks, even if you are alone. So basically asking Noah, is he going to make the same choice as the other self and stay with Mio? And Noah says, even if I'm alone. And the boy turns into Mio, and which was really confusing, and says, come with me, or something like that. I was like, what the heck is going on? I couldn't pay total attention. And you get brought back to the execution, and the blade stops right before it beheads you. The other Mio is technically the one who saved us. And holy crap, she switched bodies, because she can switch consciousness, remember, back in that fight that we had previously, a month ago, in the game's timeline. So she is actually the one that is in the old Mio's body who just died during the homecoming. So now Mio is long-haired Mio. Bad Mio is now good Mio. And this, of course, is betraying Mobius and our bad Noah. She wanted to die, and she wanted there to be good in the world. She doesn't want to live forever. She just wanted to experience her life with him, not an eternal, over and over, never ending. And she basically says she was trapped in that life with him. And the only way she could get out of it was basically what Noah did, is drove her to commit suicide in a way. So all she could do was swap bodies and prove a point. And the eternal Mio, the one that now switched bodies, was hoping that after she was gone, he would change. And well, does he change? Well, here I'm going to insert how he reacts to the knowledge that his Mio is gone. It's so well acted.
Why, Mio? Why would you do this to me? You said you'd be by my side. Mio! All I did for you.
The anguish you get there from him is top notch, especially knowing that before he was so low spoken. His tone was very soft almost. It was conniving, but you could tell that he didn't show much emotion, and this is the first time he really breaks out of it. Now, does he change? He does change, but not the way that Mio, now looking down on us, would have liked, I'm sure. He gets so unhinged and goes nuts at the revelation that Mio is gone. And gosh, it's so well acted. And you heard that distraught screaming of pain earlier. And he can't understand why she would do this. And then he's very, very, very mad at Neo for taking Mio away from him. And he wants to restart everything and start over, kill Noah, and take Mio back. And I have to put in this voice line. It's so good. It is so good.
My feelings have never changed. They're the same as they've always been. They're for you, Mio. The time I had with you meant everything to me. But now, it's all gone. If she truly is gone, I'll have to redo it all. Watch me rewind our clocks back to the start. Noah, my long shadow, you have stolen her away from me. I will extinguish you and take her back. Mio is mine. She's not yours. She's mine. You are nothing. She belongs only to me.
Some of the delivery on those lines is top tier awesomeness. I love it. So we are able to interlink, and we pull out the Sword of Origin from our chest. So you're super powerful now, and this has the power to reshape the world. Kind of sounds like a Minato from Xenoblade 1, maybe. And we get to fight Noah, or Bad Noah. We defeat him, he's hurt, and we save the day. We fight Queen Nia afterwards, destroy her. She's a fake queen, of course, so we're still trying to find the new ones. But then we get this part where Shannara? That doesn't sound right, but the girl who betrayed us earlier, they have a hidden weapon and they blow up our city from an annihilator gun. And I'm like, well, wow, okay, they did that too. But the other Mio really thought this plan out because she warped to the city beforehand, let the Van Dams know, daughter and mother. So we evacuated the city and we went underground. And one thing that I don't think was handled very well was Shanaria, whatever her name is, I can't remember her name for some reason, shoots herself in the head. And the scene's a little strange. You know, Noah's like, well, you have to accept her choice. But I guess killing yourself in this, you're just reborn again. So I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter. But the ending to chapter 5, the beginning of chapter 6 is so awesome. And I am totally invested. And I really, really want to know what's going on from here. Now you get a cool, different ultimate sword moves, arts that any class can use for Noah specifically. Ooh. So we get gameplay changes again at 55 hours in. What a whirlwind. Mio's alive, but I don't feel cheated because we had some excellent character development because of that. So before I wrap this up, I'm going to go on to the quick bits because you got to have them. As you know, I am level 61. I have not used my experience from this boss gauntlet that we went through. So I'm sure I'll be higher than that. I'm in chapter 6. I have unlocked 12 different classes. I have finished 43 different missions, the green icon ones, so side missions. Some of those are mandatory, by the way. I am specifically at 54 hours and 39 minutes, and I'm still loving this game. Now, I don't plan on lying to you. I believe this time I will for sure see you at the end of Xenoblade Chronicles 3's credits. I'm sure there'll be plenty of stuff that happens along the way, and hopefully, again, it sticks this landing that we're building to. I am super invested in it, that's for sure, and man, you should play this game.